Hey there Titans, in this video I'll show you how to safely pass parameters in the URL to Titan Web. Alright, so say we have a simple scenario just for this demonstration. We want to pre-populate some fields on a form. What we would normally do is head over to custom variables and add a parameter and pass a record ID to it, then pull the data. And let's do this real quick, and let's say we want to pull an account info, so I'll call this account ID. And I'm using global variables here since I only have one page, and please watch previous videos to learn when to use global variables or page variables. All right, so upon whenever this is populated, what I want to do is run a get that will pre-populate my account data. All right, so let's go ahead and go to Salesforce and run a get, and I'll say I want to get account data by ID, and my condition will be very simple: account ID equals account ID. Now we can map our fields. We have a couple of fields there. We'll do account name, account number, and let's say we have an email. Okay. We want to run this user action, and one record is fine, and now we can run it either whenever the page loads or from a condition on the variable. Say every time the page loads, I want to run this Salesforce action. And what we will do is we will pass the variable in the URL. So since I'm doing preview now, and one more important thing is whenever you want to see what's your variable's state is, you want to go to tools and turn on debug mode. So whenever you're in preview mode, you can see what's the status of your variable. Now we can see that it's empty. So normally what we would do is pass this in the URL. We'll say account ID equals, and let's give it an account ID, and I'll run this, and I get the data. But we have a problem here. Since the account ID is now public, everybody can see it, it's in the URL, it's not so safe, since people can come in here and start playing with the account ID, and not unlikely will get a different account, even though you're intended to send them another account. So in order for us to protect this, we want to encrypt whatever variable we're passing in the URL. And how can we do it? Titan has a simple solution for you. And obviously, before we go ahead with this, you want to make sure you have installed the Titan package for Salesforce from the Salesforce App Exchange. Okay, so what I've done here is I've created a custom text field on the account. You can create it anywhere you want, obviously, depending on which object you want to pass. And I've named it encrypted account ID, and I gave it 150 characters length. You want to go above 130 to be safe. That's our first step. Second step is we will create a simple flow. So let's go to flow trigger, and I'll create a new flow, and you can create it also from the flow pane in Salesforce setup as well. Now I'll give it a second to load. And this could be a record trigger flow whenever a record is created or updated. And all we want to do here is the following. We will say all conditions are met, and I'll say if my encrypted ID is empty, is now equals true, then what I want to do is run an action, and I'll call, again, you want to do this whenever you have the app installed, the Titan package, and we'll select form builder FT encryption util. And what this will ask from us is a couple of things. So first, give it a name. Now I'll encrypt the account ID. You can encrypt any field you like to use as a parameter to pass in a URL. So that's super important. You can encrypt anything you like. What I will do here is pass a couple of fields. So first thing is the field API name to encrypt. So we want to pass API name. So if we're encrypting anything custom, it will be something like this. In this instance, we'll encrypt the ID field of the account. Next is the field API name to save encrypted value. So in our instance, it is our encrypted account ID, and we can grab it from the list view as well, but let's get in here and we'll copy this value, the API name of the field, and we shall put it in here. And the object API name will be account, just in text. And again, if this is a custom object, you want to do something like this. And our record ID is the record ID where we want to set the value. So hypothetically, we can set it to a different record, but obviously we want to set it on the record that the flow is running on. So we'll say record.account ID, and we're good to go. So we will save this, and I'll say, and save, and let's activate. And now whenever I create a new account or edit a new one, update an existing one, it will run the encryption. So for instance, if I'll run this now and save it, I will see that the encrypted account ID has been populated. Now I can safely pass this in the URL without being afraid that someone can mess with it, since it's encrypted. So what we can do now is simply change our get condition, and if we were to run a push or an update condition as well. So we will head over to our get, and instead of looking at the account ID, what we will say in our condition is encrypted account ID. And if you do not see your field here, you want to head over to the Salesforce pane and refresh metadata. You will see all the created fields in Titan immediately if you create a new field in Salesforce. So we'll head over to conditions and we'll say encrypted account ID equals our account ID parameter. I'll rename this in a second, and our mapping will stay the same. Just so we're clear, we want to give it the correct variable name. So we can call this encrypted account ID, and I'll save. And in my preview, I'll say encrypted account ID. Now I can safely pass in the encrypted value of the account. So we'll pass this in and we get our data and everyone's happy. Same goes for the update. So let's say we want to update this account, and let's go ahead and on a click of a button, we'll run a Salesforce push. So let's create one real quick. Now we'll create a new one and I'll say I want to update the account, and my action will be update, and my condition will be, again, very simple, encrypted account ID equals to my variables encrypted account ID. Now I can map my fields. So account name will go to name, and again, this is a very simple demonstration. A number will go to number, and same goes for email. And there we have it. We'll apply this, and now if I go ahead and refresh, and I'll change this and run the update, and I'll go back over here and refresh, and I'll see that my account has been updated. There we have it. Another cool way to use this, for instance, let's say we wanted to bring a power table. Let's say we want to bring a power table of all the account that we're passing in the URL, all of its contacts. So I'll say I want to have a table of contacts, and we'll bring just 20 for this instance. And what I will say here, the account ID on the contact, and I can use a reference, and I'll say encrypted account ID equals to my field encrypted account ID, my parameter. And I'll hit next, and I can bring in some names. So I'll say first name, and I'll say last name, and we can bring in the email as well. So we do not really need even to store. We can run a get and populate the record ID in a variable as well, but we don't really need it. We can run almost all of our gets upon the encrypted account ID. And I can see that I have all my contacts populated. Some of them do not have first name. This is why it's not showing up. But in general, whenever you pass record ID or any parameter that's sensitive in the URL, you always want to encrypt it. And this is how it's done.